Reach 5, the aeromedical helicopter based out of Redding, California, went down shortly after takeoff from Sacramento's downtown hospital, located near downtown Sacramento, and crash-landed on Highway 50. All 3 crew members were critically injured, and Good Samaritans were able to lift the helicopter and get one of the surviving crew members out from underneath the helicopter wreckage. Here's what we know so far. The other 2 crew members were able to be extracted from out of the front of the helicopter. Reach 5 is November 414 Romeo X-ray and is a single-engine Eurocopter or Airbus H-130 model helicopter, single-engine turbine power. Flying out of the Northern California area, we routinely see this red helicopter operating around the Redding area and back and forth from Redding to Sacramento. And yesterday it looked like they had a couple of flights from Redding to Sacramento, and the accident occurred shortly. And it's presumed that the crew dropped off a patient at the hospital and was attempting to fly back to their base in Redding. Now, taking a close look at the ADS-B data here on Flight Radar 24, we're looking at GPS altitude right here. The hospital is located here. Highway 50 is located just right here. So very shortly after takeoff, they reached an altitude of just 500 feet GPS altitude. The elevation of the freeway is about 50 to 75 feet, so about 450 feet off the ground. At a ground speed of about 40 knots, they were climbing out at between 700 and 600 feet per minute, and then right there at 450 feet as they were crossing close to T Street here, the helicopter began a descent. 640 feet per minute, 700 feet per minute, 832 feet per minute before the data stopped right here. The helicopter ended up crashing right about here on the freeway. So if we zoom into Google Maps, here's the UC Davis Medical Center, the helicopter landing pads on top of this building here. Zoom out a little bit, and here's Highway 50 just to the north. And this crash occurred somewhere along this stretch of Highway 50. Now, if we go down and take a closer look from about the 48th Street overpass on back, this helicopter ended up crash landing in the lanes to the south. This would be the eastbound lanes. And we're going to look at a video of the actual approach and landing. And the point that I want to make about landing on Highway 50, it was about sunset. It was Monday evening. It was a lot of traffic on the freeway. There's power lines paralleling the freeway, high-tension power lines on the north side of the freeway, more power lines to the south side, but occasionally there's a small set of wires running across the freeway. Now let's take a look at the actual video of the crash posted here on TikTok. It's right around sunset. The helicopter is approaching from the south, from the direction of the hospital, and he's turning towards the east and crashing in the southbound lane. Right there, the helicopter hit something. So we believe that this is an auto rotation. There's some sort of a mechanical failure or engine failure that's forcing the helicopter into this auto rotation and forced landing here on Highway 50, and apparently strikes something during the attempted landing, forcing the landing to be very hard. Right there, it's hard to see. I can't see if that's a wire, if he hit something, or if something else inside internally into the helicopter is shaking the helicopter such that it's shaking the entire landing skid. But something disrupted this auto rotation, forced landing here on Highway 50. In single-engine helicopters, if you lose an engine, you're going to do a maneuver called an auto rotation, where you're going to exchange altitude for energy into the rotor system to effect a flare and a auto rotation landing. And it's going to look something kind of like this. Take that energy out of the rotor system, flare the aircraft, and slide it onto the mains. This is a clip from a Bruce Webb video here on YouTube. One of the things investigators are going to be looking at is the HV diagrams for the Eurocopter H-130s, height velocity diagrams. But at 450 feet above the ground and 40 knots, this pilot was in a good position to perform an auto-rotation landing with plenty of energy in the rotor system to effect a decent flare. In a helicopter, you need to avoid certain speeds and altitudes in order to have enough energy in the rotor system to perform a proper auto-rotation in the event of an engine failure. Helicopter pilots routinely practice auto-rotation landings where the engine is uncoupled from the rotor system and you're simply using the wind coming through the rotor system as you descend to keep the speed of the rotor system up to have enough collective at the end of the auto-rotation to flare and slow the rate of descent down from the helicopter. But oftentimes when you're training, you're using power to come out of the end of the auto rotation in order to save wear and tear on the helicopter, because if you get the flare wrong in the helicopter, it's going to damage the helicopter very easily. So just like in a fixed wing airplane, the difference between practice forced landings and actual forced landings can be considerably different. And if you get the flare wrong, you're going to end up landing at too high of an energy state. And this is a good auto-rotation landing here. In the flare, getting rid of that energy, and setting her down. So investigators will be looking closely to find out what was the mechanical problem with the helicopter that caused him to do the forced landing on Highway 50 during rush hour traffic, and did the helicopter strike a wire on the way down from his auto-rotation landing? And our thoughts and prayers go out to the speedy recovery of Reach 5, our aeromedical crew out of Redding, California. See you here. Thank you for your support.